It was a heinous crime that still haunts 2 counties in Texas, the shocking abduction and killing of a U.S. border inspector. Today on True Crime Chronicles, we're asking, how did this happen?
It was just cold-blooded assassination.
It is still a wound for this whole community. He has not been forgotten.
It's January 27th, 1984, in Del Rio, Texas. U.S. Customs Inspector Richard Latham arrives for his shift that afternoon, relieving Port Inspector Mike Perez. Latham stops a car to conduct a routine search of the vehicle. Inside are 4 men attempting to cross the border.
The only thing he did to those 4 guys was he went to work that day. That's all he did.
As he searches the car, Latham discovers a bag of jewelry hidden under the seat. In seconds, the men force Latham into the car at gunpoint. There are no security cameras or witnesses to record the abduction.
You got to remember there was no cameras back then. They had kind of figured out that he had been taken, he'd actually been kidnapped.
News reaches border officials that Latham may be in grave danger. They learn that the 4 men traveling inside the car are wanted for a jewelry store heist in Mexico. Their search for Latham intensifies, desperate to find him before it's too late. But their efforts are in vain. On the morning of January 28th, officers find Latham's body left in a ditch off Highway 277. There is no sign of the killers.
But they made an informed decision to kill him. That's on record. That's from their own testimony.
A manhunt ensues for the 4 men. When DPS tracks down 2 of the suspected killers, one of the men, Jesus Ramirez, takes his own life. The other, Rafael Calderon-Velasquez, surrenders to the officers. In his confession, Rafael accuses Jesus Ramirez of the murder. Officials apprehend the remaining 2 suspects weeks later. Giving full confessions, they recount the gruesome details of that night. After his abduction, the killers restrained Latham with his own handcuffs. But it's what the suspects tell investigators next that sends chills down their spines.
Talked about it when he could hear it. He's listening to them plan his death. Knowing Richard, it was really no threat to those guys.
Using Latham's service weapon, one of the men shot twice into the inspector's back, killing him. However, the 2 suspects point their fingers at Rafael, accusing him, not Jesus Ramirez, of killing Inspector Latham. Rafael pleads guilty to murder, and he receives a life sentence. For 36 years, Rafael lives his days and nights locked up in a federal prison in Indiana. That is until August 2020. Officials fly Rafael back to Del Rio. The Texas Department of Corrections confirms he was issued state parole in 2008. The Federal Bureau of Prisons refuses to explain why he was released.
His killer was supposed to spend his lifetime in prison, and Richard Latham didn't get that lifetime. He didn't get to walk his daughters down the aisle. He didn't get to rock his grandbabies to sleep. Rafael Calderon-Velasquez took that away from him. They want for their father's legacy to be remembered, for his sacrifice to not have been for nothing.
Upon landing in Del Rio, Texas Rangers escort Rafael past a chain of border agents. A silent show of unity for one of their own, brutally gunned down in the line of duty.
We're in the 3rd generation now, and they're still doing everything they can to keep his memory alive and to make sure justice is served.
Wow, and it's so sick that this man is walking free with just an ankle monitor. We couldn't believe it. So earlier we talked with Vanessa Croy, a reporter in Texas who covered this story.
Vanessa, thank you so much for being here. First off, how in the heck did this man get paroled? We are shaking our heads here. We've talked about it before this interview. How has this happened?
Well, guys, remember, that is a question that the family has been asking all along, and that's why they initially reached out to me to find out why this man was being released after killing their father, who is also a federal agent. You know, he was an inspector there at the International Bridge in Del Rio, but he was a federal agent. And so that is a question everybody wants to know the answer to. The family, in fact, found out about this from the local law enforcement and the Texas Rangers, who actually went to Indiana to pick up Calderon-Velasquez when he was released from the federal prison. So it was just a heartbreaking kind of slap in the face to this family.
It makes me so mad.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, the family is shocked and why they haven't heard why he was released. So why aren't officials saying anything about his release?
Well, and guys, that's another question that I could not answer during this story. So we do know that he was granted state parole back in, I believe, 2008, which once again, another question, we don't even know why that happened.
Right.
The family did not get a chance to present their case to the Federal Bureau of Prisons to say why they did not want him released. I mean, once again, it goes back. He is accused and convicted of killing a federal agent.
That's what I can't get over, that this is such a federal crime, and I'm wondering what you just said kind of asks my next question. Has the Latham family been able to at least try to get him back behind bars? Are they not even being asked or invited to parole hearings? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
No, not these recent parole hearings. I know they were involved previously over the years to present their case and speak about their father, who, you know, we have to remember, too, they want to keep their father's legacy alive, you know, to make sure that his sacrifice never goes unnoticed. And it's interesting to note, too, that when I spoke with Sharon Ansick and the other individual, Mike Perez, in the story, they said this case is still discussed in training for CBP officers now because they don't want his legacy to be forgotten and his sacrifice, and also to remember the dangers that these agents walk into every day on this job. You know, the technology is so advanced now and security is so advanced than it was back in 1984, but still these agents are putting their lives on the line every day to protect our border.
Vanessa, you talk about the technology. Is anyone tracking him? Like, how do we keep tabs on this man?
Well, and as far as we know, he is under probation. He is he's on parole, and probation in El Paso. We've heard that he's wearing an ankle monitor. I wasn't able to actually confirm that because the probation office wasn't able to speak with us on camera. We had to reach out to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and we weren't able to get any answers from them.
All right, good. A great job on keeping up on that. We're covering the broad strokes here, but trust me, there's so much more to it. If you'd like to get those details, go to kens5.com. We've also covered Inspector Latham's murder on our True Crime Chronicles podcast, which you can find online too. Vanessa, thank you for keeping this in the public's eye. We really appreciate it.
And we appreciate you guys, and I can say on behalf of the family, they appreciate you guys bringing this story and keeping his legacy alive to a larger audience today. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.